here in this area, and no one came out in the daylight. It didn't get dark till 10 or 10:30. It really played hell on nightclub industry, and at that time, bands worked 6 nights a week. Musicians worked 6 nights a week, at least 5 hours. Now, it's 1 night a week for 3 hours, something like that. And the funny thing is, the pay's the same. Back then, it was what you get now for some musicians still don't make anything. But the 60s and the 50s were wonderful years for having fun playing your music, especially in the 60s. Now, when I first got on stage, I'll say like with the debutantes, I didn't play an instrument, but I picked up the claves and the maracas and played them with the band. So I didn't feel like stupid standing there.
Yeah.
And immediately a union man came up and said, "Are you a union person?" And I, of course, said no, which I wasn't at the time. Says, "Well, you cannot play those instruments then. I'm going to be back next week, and you better have a card." And so that's how I got in the union. They were really strict back then. And if I would have been older and joined in the 40s or early 50s or before that, I would have had to have sat down and sight read a whole lot of hard music, which
just to play the maracas.
With anything, whatever you played, you had to sight read music. And then it got to the point where people were improvising everything, and they couldn't enforce that anymore.
Yeah. Do you still go out for any live music at all, or catch any music?
Yeah, I go out. Not very often.
Yeah. Do you have any particular places you like to go around Dayton anymore?
No, wherever the band is.
What bands do you typically play?
Well, my friend Kathy, she's got like 4 or 5 bands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she does.
She just whatever it calls for, she puts it together. And so I like to go here, whether it's solo, duet, trio, big band, whatever. She's really talented.
Yeah,
she's had a lot of experience.
Yeah, she gave me a CD when she came in, so I would listen to that in my car driving around.
Yeah, she can play. And she also worked for me in my studio when I had it, the MIDI suite. She did. She and her husband Gary, who's not her husband anymore, but they worked in the studio and did my MIDI arrangements for my nightclub work when I had a group called Stargate, and I had that name before the TV series came out, by the way.
Got to write them a letter.
Yeah, and that's the Stargate. You can hear that on my YouTube. Stuff I did with Stargate. And she was really good at programming. You know, if she goes out and plays solo, you know, she's got her background on, and she plays too.
So Dayton has a pretty prolific music history. Do you think there's anything specific about the region, the area, the city, people that makes it so prone to good music?
I never could figure that out. I used to tell people that I said there was no sense in hiring people from out of town or stars because the area is just overloaded with talented people who can't get a start. No one will give them a chance. And I said, that's what we want to do here. Mentor these people who've got talent. And on Sunday nights at the Forum Club, starting about 11:30 or 12 o'clock, I didn't have to do a thing. We had so much talent in the audience, and we would call them up one at a time, musicians and singers, and we would go past 2:30 till about 4 in the morning, and with all the jamming. And, we were the first club to open on Sunday nights in Dayton, 1965. Entertainment club, I'm talking about. I imagine there were bars. But my partner and my partners and I sat down before we opened the Forum, and they asked, we talked about what day we want to close or how many days do we want to close. And I had already been working the clubs, and I said, well, Monday's dead. Doesn't matter where you go, Monday is dead, and it's hard to work with no one to sing to or play to. I said, why don't we open on Sunday? And they both looked at me and said, you can't sell liquor. That's why. I said, we can sell 3-2 beer till midnight. That was when they had 3-2. You know what that is. Low power beer. I said, we can sell 3-2 beer at midnight. It's Monday. So we can start selling liquor at midnight. And we milled that around. They finally said, okay, we'll open Tuesday through Sunday. And our first Sunday open, we were worried. Yeah. Because there were only a scattered few people in the club. But at 11:30, they just started streaming in because the entertainers in town had a place to go. The waitresses and waiters had a place to go, finally. The bartenders and the club owners, all these people who never had a place to go on Sunday night, all at once, had a nightclub with entertainment to go to. And they knew how to tip and spend. Yeah. So our Sundays became the second biggest night of the week. And it was only from 11:30 till 2:30. 3 hours.
That's all you need sometimes.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Do you see any big differences between the music scene of Dayton now and then back with the Forum?
Oh yeah. There are no show clubs anymore. The bands can't do what we used to do. The shows, they can just relax and play one number after another. When back then there were so many clubs. Sut Miller's, the Tropics, Anarinos, Turf, Green Derby, Brown Derby, Cascades. There were so many places that you could go. If a man had a client come in town, he said, "I'm going to show you a good time tonight," and you could. And you walk in a club, if you were a business owner or something, and we would remember these people, and you call their name out or something from the stage, and they loved that sort of thing, you know. An example like Steve Sachs, who had a Holiday Health Spa, you know, call him out, and when we do a benefit, we would always have raffles throughout the evening, and people like him, he would donate a life membership to Holiday Health Spa, you know, which would sell a lot of tickets for muscular dystrophy or cerebral palsy or whatever. And they don't do that anymore, you know. NCR had the sugar camp every year, and they would bring all these people from club to club, and if you didn't have fun at one, you go right up the street and have fun at that one. Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of difference. Plus, Dayton used to have a whole lot of piano bars. You familiar with piano bars? And piano bars were fun back then. Now, try to find one.
I only know one, and it's at the Crown Plaza. It's not even really a piano bar. They just have a piano that a person comes in and plays every once in a while. And it's hit or miss on whether or not there's even going to be people there.
Yeah, if you didn't want to see a show, you could go to a piano bar, and there were a lot of places where there were country bands, you know.
So would you say it's more, besides missing out on the like all the different venues you can go to, is kind of just missing that personal connectedness to the area as well?
Yeah, there's not much of that anymore.
That's why, me personally, I've always kind of shied away from going to the big concerts where you have just crowds and crowds of people. Like that's a cool atmosphere. It's a great feeling, and like I can bet the performers love it. But me, like I've always loved just the personal feel of a small venue, and you just get a more closer connection with the people performing. And they don't have to magnify the sound to go across an entire field, just fill one room.
When you mentioned that, the arenas, when they first started in the 60s, when the record artists started going to the arenas, the bigger rooms and stadiums, then Sub Millers lost their stars and had to take semi-stars, people who couldn't fill a stadium, you know. Instead of getting Frank Sinatra, he would get someone, Bobby Rydell, you know what I mean? And every one of the clubs that had big entertainment had to go to something else, a lesser star, and that hurt. That hurt all the clubs, the arenas, because these stars could go into these arenas and sell the tickets and make a lot more than they could at Sub Miller's, you know, a nightclub. Yeah, that was my thing almost. But that was another way it started hurting clubs.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the arena concerts. There's just not. It's one thing to, like with a smaller performance, the way they're kind of painting it is that it's a more personal performance that you're almost a part of. But when you're at one of these giant concert halls or arenas, you can see behind the curtains. It's all just a performance.
Yeah.
And you can't really the reason you're going there is kind of lose yourself and enjoy the music. But with those, you can just kind of see all the strings getting pulled, and it's not as fun.
Yeah.
To me, but that's just me. What would you say are some of the best bands to come out of Dayton?
Out of Dayton? I don't know. I can't remember their name.
It's all
the
good.
bands. The stable bands, like Something Noise Band. I can't remember the band leader. But the thing of it is with the bands, they just evolve. The musicians evolve, and it's always the band leader or the name of the group that stays staple. Johnny McCoy's orchestra was pretty strong for a long time. The band at the Colony Club, Don Reynolds, I think was his name. That was staple for a long time, but there again, the musicians turned over. The Davis Division, my group, was really strong for about 4 years till the Dirk Brothers left, and there again, our group, what we did for our show was everybody was an individual. In the scrapbooks you'll see advertisements, but you might see the Roaring Twenties skit, a picture, Roaring Twenties, the 50s, but they're all skits, and the rest of the pictures are all the individual people that sang in our show for 5 hours, and not called a band. And that was the same at the Cascades. That's how they advertised each individual. I don't know, you got surrounding area people like the McGuire sisters. They were from Middletown or Miamisburg. But I don't know. I can't remember all. I was too busy doing my own thing.
Oh, that's all right.
Just in Time, and they're still in existence. Just in Time, really good cover band, rock and roll, country rock. They're still in existence. Not only a couple of the original guys. There were 5 of them all the time playing. I can't remember the rest. Bands.
Oh, that's all right. So I know you and Kathy still get together and play cards. She talked about that last week. Is anyone else that you played with back in the day? Do you guys still get together, hang out?
Well, there aren't any. They're all gone.
Whoever's left around.
Yeah, most of the people that I played with, most of the people that were at the Forum Club have passed away. Big Red, Donnie G, Bobby Gordon, Sammy Dobson, wonderful organist, Lincoln Berry. They're both on some of my YouTube stuff. Most of them have passed away that I've worked with.
that's one of the big reasons why we're doing this whole interview series, is just trying to get everyone's story while we can.
And I've left a nice stack of 8x10s that of entertainers, some of the entertainers we worked with. We had, in that 12 years, around 200 musicians and singers that we worked with in the club.
So, so theoretically here, you're talking to someone that's not from the Dayton area, who's not really heard about Dayton at all. How would you describe Dayton's music scene and Dayton's music history to somebody?
Well, first off, it's a lot of talent here. But I don't know where they're going now.
Mm-hmm.
There just aren't that many bands, and the bands are small. They don't do shows, but I don't know how to explain it. I don't go out much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I go out to see Kathy and her groups. That's about it.
Yeah, there's some good programs on NPR, the WYSO, where they have local bands come in. It usually starts around between 1 and 3, Monday through Friday. They usually have pretty good.
I put that on once in a while. I don't, not all the time, but that's the station I listen to.
Yeah. I haven't listened to the regular radio in years, just because pop music's okay for what it is. I understand why they make it. It sells records. It puts people in concerts. But just popular music is just falling to the wayside for me. And that's what I love about NPR and WISO, is they have stuff that you're not going to hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which
they have a lot of local songwriters.
Yeah, and that you have them come on and perform live too, which I think is really cool. Just because you don't really get to hear a lot of live music sometimes if you're not really going out to hear it. But one cool thing is the leather pavilion that they built downtown.
I haven't been there yet.
Oh, it's amazing. It's a really cool scene, and just because they're free concerts. Is one thing I love, because they're really trying to. There's a really big push in the last 5 years to really kind of revamp Dayton's music culture. I really saw it start with the Canal Street Tavern downtown. How it used to be a really big music venue, but now it was closed for at least two years before it turned into the bar it is now. But
it's open now.
Yeah, but it's an arcade bar. It's just one of those microbreweries that kind of opened up in town.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they don't have shows there anymore. But everyone that works there, I know, is in a band that I've seen. But that's one thing I love about Dayton these days, is that they're really pushing more to bring back the just places for people to come out and play. And that's what I like seeing with the Leather Pavilion, for sure, is it gives that opportunity.
I've read all about the pavilion down there. Sounds wonderful.
And it's really cool because it also gives just bands opportunities to come out and actually put on concerts for people. And bring people together. That's what music's supposed to do.
Friends of mine have played every year down there for the Ladies in Jazz on the Dave Hall. Before the pavilion was built. Connie Kenny Trio. They started at the Forum and ended up making it a career. Connie Lawson we have time for another little story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. At one point, I had hired Sammy Dobson to play organ along with me, and piano player Hazen Brown. And we had Brenda Galloway, who sang. She was kind of a Diana Ross type singer. And we had a girl named Vi August, who had a low register. Actually, she sang in the exact same register as me. People thought she was a drag queen for a while, but she wasn't. And then I hired Connie Lawson, who was a cashier at Wright's. Hired her to be our cashier at the Forum Club. Singing cashier, because she came in on Sunday nights and sang a couple songs. Got up as one of our guests. And I said, how would you like to be our singing cashier? And she said, on the weekends. And she said, yeah, I'll try it. And I put a Coke case behind the bar by the cash register. And a microphone that hung down and a baby spotlight that we would turn on. And she'd sing from the, well, it got to the point Joe says, you know, we've got our own Supremes here. We got 3 girls that sing. So we got these friends of ours who were hairdressers. They sewed up costumes and did wigs for these girls, and they were knockouts. And we called them the Satin Dolls, and we opened them on a Friday night, built a show on them, one set, to see how it would go, and they were so good. The audience, it was a crowded house. We always opened everything on a weekend where we had our best customers, you know. And anyway, this ended kind of funny. Joe and I were at bars. I didn't have to play right then because Sammy was playing. And the Satin Dolls finished, and Joe said, where's Connie? I need her behind the cash register. And we sat there and sat there, and finally here comes Connie down the hallway, still in her gown and her wig, and she came up to the bar and sat down beside Joe, and she says, I'll have a martini. And she looked at Joe and she says, I'm never, ever going behind the cash register again. But I know what I'm going to do. And
yeah,
that was it. She never did anything but sing after that.
Yeah, it's hard to go back once you get a taste of it.
It's
hard to go back once you get a taste of it.
Yes, and it worked out wonderful. She and her boyfriend, who also worked at the club later on as an organist, he and the drummer and Connie Kenny Trio, and they went all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's awesome. So one final question. It's kind of a theoretical one. If you could go back to any concert performance, like maybe even a night at one of your clubs, what would be your dream concert to go?
It would be at the Forum.
Would be at the Forum? Is there any specific night in particular?
No.
Just all of them?
It was just fun all the time. Especially on Saturday and Sundays.
Yeah. The packed house. The one on St. Patrick's Day one sounds like it'd be a pretty good time.
It was always fun.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's. And we decorated for everything. Balloons were cheap. And crepe paper, and it just made everything festive. And we enjoyed doing the fundraisers. We were good at that. And we also did a spring dance and a Halloween party for the handicapped in Dayton. We'd bring in all the cerebral palsy kids and